Hi, everyone, and welcome to Navigating Gender Expression Abroad, hosted by the UCEAP system-wide office. We have our presenters today, myself, Lauren Nestler. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am an associate program director at the system-wide office.
Hi everyone, I am Julie Pollard. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am the Director of International Health Safety and Crisis Management Department here at the UCEAP system-wide office.
I don't see Austin here yet. He might join us, but if he does, Austin, he is a study abroad advisor at, he uses he, him, his pronouns. He is also at the system-wide office, and I do apologize. Destiny is also here with us. Destiny, I didn't put you on the slide. Did you want to do a quick introduction?
Hi, Lauren. My name is Destiny Rivas. I am the pre-departure health clearance coordinator for UCEAP. I work with Julie and Kate, my lovely team, and I use she, her, hers pronouns.
Great, thank you, Destiny. In this session, we will be covering some examples of differences you may encounter abroad related to gender expression, things you should consider in research as you select a program, as you prepare for your time abroad, and then once you are abroad. And finally, we're going to provide you with some information on resources that are available to you before and during your program. On this slide, I've included an image of the gender unicorn, and this is an image from the Trans Student Org that provides a visual representation of gender identity, gender expression, sex assigned at birth, and then physically and emotionally attracted to. Even if you've never seen this gender unicorn before, you likely are familiar with these concepts and terms and may have participated in conversations about gender as it relates to these ideas. What is important for you to think about as you prepare to study abroad is that the country that you end up studying in and the people you interact with may or may not have had exposure to these terms, and they may use similar terms, but they may use them a little bit differently. The terms you could find that they really present themselves differently in the context abroad. Keep in mind that California is quite advanced on conversations about gender, and there may be parts of the world that you go to that don't have the same understanding of the same terms that you use, even if you do view them as progressive countries. So as you start your preparation for study abroad, you'll just want to keep in mind that there can be a period of adjustment once you're abroad as you start to discover the local dialogue as it relates to gender. So this is all very philosophical, theoretical. I want to give you some kind of concrete examples of what I'm talking about. So for the first example here, we have Denmark. So gender X is a legal status in Denmark. So Danish citizens have to go through a legal process in order to get the gender X marker on their passport. And that is a very different process than the way it is in the US if you get gender X on your passport. So even though you have the same terminology in both places, gender X, it's being used, people will have gone through different journeys to get that marker on their passport. Julie is going to talk about the gender X passport marker in the US a little bit later in this presentation. Another example, in Sweden, some universities will have a option on their application to select non-binary. And if you select that on your application, the university may contact you and ask you to select one of the traditional markers instead, so that they can give you a social security number. So you may be thinking, why is there a third option there if I can't even select it? And that's a valid question. The reason is because both Sweden and Finland use the same application software for their application processing. And in Finland, you don't need to select a traditional marker, but in Sweden you do. So this is just an example of where you might see some administrative things that are different between two countries, even in the same region of the world. And the last example I want to talk about is about language. So for example, in France, everything is gendered. Adjectives, articles, pronouns, and even some verb forms. And most of the time, the masculine form is the root of the word, as compared to some other languages, such as Spanish, where the masculine and feminine is an ending, like an O or an A. So it is more challenging to have a third option in French. In addition to the structure of the language itself, the French are very, very proud of their language. It's a prominent part of their culture, and they're very vigilant about protecting it. So when you have conversations about the gendering of language in France, it's going to be very different than you would expect or than you would have in California. So you just want to have an open mind as you engage in these types of conversations with local French speakers. I want to talk now a little bit more about the practical things that you want to think about as you start doing your research and selecting a program. Some of these things you can research on your own, and others you will want to talk to your study abroad advisor about. So starting with housing and facilities, what are the housing options on the program that you're interested in? Is it apartments? Is it residence? Is there dorms? Are there homestay options? And would you feel comfortable with any of the options offered on the program? Are there gender inclusive housing options? Some programs will offer gender inclusive housing options in their application. And is that something you'd be interested in? Are there single rooms? Are there shared rooms? Would you feel comfortable sharing a room with someone? Are there gender inclusive bathrooms at the host institution? And are the housing options assigned by gender or sex on the passport? So as an example, at the American University in Cairo in Egypt, they would require you to live in the student residences based on the sex on your passport. So these are just things you want to think about as you're researching the housing options for your programs. Something else you want to think about is in terms of paperwork and admin. Is there a third gender option on the university application itself? If not, are you comfortable with moving forward with your application? Is there a third gender option on the immigration or visa paperwork? Again, would you feel comfortable moving forward with your visa application if there's not a third option? Immigration and visa paperwork is not something that there's flexibility on. So this is something that you'd really want to think about as you're starting to decide if this is something you want to move forward with. Does the university or institution have an opportunity to provide a lived name? And do instructors and staff use preferred pronouns in the classroom and program related activities? So these are important questions to ask. And then also thinking about your environment, locating resource. Is there a local LGBTQIA+ center or student group that you can connect with once you're there? Can you start to make those connections prior to departure? The US State Department has travel advice on their website for the LGBTQIA+ community. They have a general page that says LGBTQI+ travelers, which will give you more general travel advice. And then each country page has a section under local laws and special circumstances that will give more detailed information for that particular country. Think about questions that you should ask. Does your study abroad provider have intelligence resources that you can utilize? So for example, if you go through UCEAP, you will have access to Crisis 24, which provides immediate access to critical threat intelligence tools and assistance, and you can use that as you work on your program. And then Diversity Abroad is another resource you can use as you do your research.
Hey, the UC Travel Insurance Program is a policy that is required by UCEAP. If you're on a UCEAP program, you will automatically be enrolled and the cost is included in your program fees. This travel policy will serve as your primary medical coverage while abroad if you have an accident or an illness. This travel coverage is not the same as health insurance provided by programs like UCShip. It does not include coverage for routine care or preventative care costs. If you need these services while abroad, we recommend you remain enrolled in the UCShip program. Depending upon the country you are studying in, different types of services may or may not be available based on host country laws. It is important to research any medical needs prior to confirming a program location. The same goes for any medication you are currently taking. Importing the medication, obtaining refills, or getting a new medication may or may not be possible. Our unit can help you understand whether a program country can meet your needs. The QR code will take you to our website where you can view information about the travel insurance and contact our office for any questions.
Okay, so in thinking about your identity while abroad, start researching your new environment and host country, and be sure to check any assumptions you have about your new environment, as not everything we assume about a host country or city may actually be accurate. Once you've done your research, try to set goals for what you want to get out of your experience. Think about how you'll engage with your new environment. Ask yourself questions such as what kind of opportunities will I engage in abroad? And how do I think about myself when I imagine myself in a new space? If you've already come out or transitioned in California or wherever you are from, your home environment, how would you feel if you had to or wanted to come out again in your new environment while you're abroad? Keep in mind you may not have easy access to all of your support networks while you're abroad, such as your campus, your family and friends, or your personal healthcare provider or therapist. Conversely, if you've never come out or transitioned before, is that something you're thinking about exploring while you're abroad? If this is something you're considering, be sure to think about why you haven't come out in your regular home environment and really consider those factors when you're thinking about whether you want to come out while you're abroad. Again, remember your support network is going to look very different while you're abroad. After you've researched what your new environment will be like abroad, you may decide not to identify or re-identify yourself while you're studying abroad. If you don't feel safe or an aspect of your identity being public in your new environment and you decide not to identify or re-identify yourself, just consider how that indecision will impact you, how it'll impact your interactions with others, your daily life, and other aspects of your study abroad experience. So these are just things that you can think about. It is, it's your decision. And support networks. So while you consider identifying yourself or re-identifying yourself while abroad, it's also helpful to think about having a support network. Do you have a support network at home with friends, family, and resources at your campus, a counselor or therapist? And how might you replicate that kind of support while you're abroad? Ask your study abroad program provider what support options will be available to you. For example, students studying abroad through UCEAP have access to LYRA, a mental health service provider that students can connect with either in person, by video, or by phone. So knowing how to access the support resources available to you in advance can be helpful if you end up needing to use them at any time while on your program.
If you have selected the X gender marker on your US passport, there are some important risks to consider. Whether a country will allow an X passport holder to enter, what types of safety and security concerns might be experienced, and what are the important questions to research. The QR code on this page will take you to the US State Department's webpage, which discusses selecting your gender marker. That's a great place to start. So, what is a Gender X passport if you're not familiar with it? In 2021, the US government began allowing passport applicants to choose X as their answer to be displayed in the sex category. No medical or legal paperwork is required to choose X, and your other identity documents, such as driver's license and birth certificate, do not need to say X to choose X for your passport. This passport is identical to traditional gender marker passports in every way, except it shows X instead of an M or an F under sex. This slide shows countries that have a third gender option. It is important to understand there may be unique legal and medical qualifications for choosing a third gender option. Lauren gave you an example previously of Denmark. Not all countries have the same process as the US in issuing a third gender marker. Having an option is not indicative of gender-affirming care medical options or societal acceptance of non-traditional genders. Additionally, other logistical challenges may occur when interacting with visa applications, the airlines, hotel booking systems, residency procedures, and possibly more. Harassment and disenfranchisement while traveling internationally, including being questioned or detained because of documentation that does not meet the expectations of border control authorities and security technologies, may happen. While the process of changing documentation is uneven across geopolitical contexts, the introduction of the X marker has generally been celebrated as rectifying outdated understandings of gender as binary and as a victory for non-binary recognition. The US making available an X option without legal or medical documentation is a huge step forward. But we must understand the language used and what risks that may present to X passport holders. When launching the option, the US State Department directly tied X passport holders to the LGBTQIA+ individuals. Some countries with restrictive laws may view the X passport holder as a confirmation of an identity that is illegal in their country. In addition to researching your program country, it is important to research any country you plan to visit before you book any non-refundable travel. If a country has any laws criminalizing same-sex relations or non-traditional genders, an ex-passport holder may not be able to enter or may face extremely high risks to your safety and security. Travel with ex-passport presents different kinds of risks, from the logistical and administrative in dealing with booking and travel, completing mandatory paperwork across processes in a different country, to discrimination and harassment. It is important to be prepared for how you may navigate these risks. Many trans and non-binary individuals also experience high levels of anxiety and stress before, during, and after traveling. It is important to take care of your mental wellness in addition to your physical safety and security. UCAP provides all students with 20 sessions of virtual counseling and travel insurance that provides coverage for mental health conditions, counseling, and medications. How can you research whether an X marker is accepted? How can you better prepare to travel with an X marker passport? Safety is a partnership at UCAP. We are here to help you by providing resources and guidance to make the best decision for you. This slide can help you determine where to start. For specific information on these suggestions, refer to your UCEAP portal.
All right, thank you, Julie. So this concludes the presentation section of our session today. I want to thank everybody for joining. I am going to stop our recording.